In a magical school situated on an airborne island called Mistoken, students are trained to master their magical powers and combat skills to defend against frequent attacks by beetle monsters. These creatures cause the destruction of civilization on Earth's surface, leading surviving humans to relocate to Mistoken Island. It became essential for each generation of island inhabitants to improve their abilities and build a stronger community. When a swarm of beetle monsters approached Mistoken Island, the top wizards from the Sky Wizard Academy were tasked with battling them. Among them was the famous wizard Kanata Age, accompanied by Yuri Floster, Chloe Sevigny, and Lloyd Alwyn. Together, they bravely fought the beetles, using all their skills to protect the island. Despite their efforts and victories, the relentless monsters overwhelmed them. Seeing the increasing danger, Kanata urged Yuri and their companions to retreat and protect Mistoken Island while he faced the remaining monsters alone. With Yuri injured, Lloyd and Chloe returned to Mistoken Island, leaving everything to Kanata. As Kanata prepared for a decisive attack, a giant beetle monster emerged and fired a beam of light at him. However, he remained calm and prepared to counter with a final strike from his enchanted sword. A massive explosion followed, lighting up the sky with intense brightness. The scene changes to the peaceful aftermath on Mistoken Island, where Kanata returns to his usual routine at Sky Wizard Academy. One day, Chloe brings a report to the Academy's leader, Rico Flamel, about 3 female students facing expulsion due to their lack of achievements. These students are Misora Whitale, who hasn't achieved much, Lecty Eisenach, a shy girl who rarely interacts with others, and Rico Flamel, Frien's self-centered younger sister, who sees herself as superior. Frien decides these girls need a different approach, so she asks Chloe to summon Kanata for a special task. Meanwhile, as Kanata checks the inventory at the Academy's warehouse, Lloyd tells him about a recurring shortage of weapons, suggesting possible theft. Frien wants to see Kanata during lunchtime, so despite his reluctance, Kanata agrees and goes to meet her. On his way, Kanata accidentally bumps into Misora, who is enjoying jam buns in the courtyard. Her jam bun lands on Kanata's pants, leading Misora to misunderstand him. Before she can express her annoyance, Kanata quickly leaves to clean his pants at the field sink. Meanwhile, Rico, known for her self-centeredness, encountered Kanata and accused him of inappropriate behavior because he was wearing only boxer shorts. Rico, absorbed in her own attractiveness, assumed Kanata had removed his pants because he was mesmerized by her. However, as Rico turned away to boast about her beauty, Kanata disappeared once again, quietly making his way to a nearby restroom to retrieve his pants. Unfortunately, he found himself in another awkward situation when he stumbled upon Lecty, who was changing clothes. Surprised by Kanata's sudden appearance in the women's restroom, Lecty also accused him of misconduct, echoing the sentiments of the previous encounters. Despite feeling uncomfortable, Kanata went to the Academy's administration building to meet Frien, regretting his choice of shortcuts and the resulting encounters with the 3 girls. Inside Frien's office, other students who had witnessed Kanata's strange behavior viewed him with suspicion and accused him of betrayal. As Kanata climbed the stairs, he ran into Yuri, who called him a traitor. The reason behind this accusation remained unclear, but Yuri's response hinted at a connection to the beetle attack incident and Kanata's team. Upon reaching Frien's office, she assigned him the task of mentoring the Academy's 3 lowest-performing students for the semester. Initially hesitant to accept the assignment, Kanata reluctantly agreed due to the lack of other available instructors. After receiving the files of the troubled students, Kanata went to the fire team E600 and 1 class to meet his new charges. Despite facing mockery from fellow Academy students in the corridors, who branded him a traitor, Kanata remained unfazed by the insults, seemingly accustomed to such treatment. Meanwhile, Misora, Lecty, and Rico were discussing the encounter with the person they considered inappropriate. To their surprise, the very person they were discussing entered their classroom. Introducing himself as their new teacher, Kanata's arrival didn't receive a warm welcome from the 3 girls when they realized he was the one they had labeled as inappropriate. Their disappointment grew upon discovering Kanata's reputation as a traitor within the Academy. Misora particularly expressed reluctance to accept him as their instructor, seeing him as indifferent and unaware of their individual characteristics. Kanata responded by showing his knowledge of their backgrounds, gathered from their files. Despite Kanata's efforts, Misora remained hesitant to trust him. She mentioned that 6 months ago, Kanata had survived an encounter with the beetle monsters, but had since avoided participating in missions, leading to his team failing a crucial exam. Since then, Kanata had been branded a traitor for his actions, causing his team and the academy to lose hope. Nevertheless, he informed the girls that regardless of their opinion, it was the academy's decision for him to be their instructor. Kanata then revealed his past as a famous magic swordsman, known as the Black Swordmaster. He expressed confidence in his ability to train them to surpass their peers and become strong warriors. This revelation sparked interest in Misora and the others, who eagerly wanted to learn sword techniques from him. For their first training session, Kanata suggested testing their abilities through aerial combat using flying boards. He'd assured them that he could match their skills without relying on flying magic. He confidently stated that the training would end once they defeated him. Shortly after, Kanata rose into the clouds, expecting an attack from the three girls, while Misora and her friends pursued him separately. He noticed their lack of teamwork or strategic approach. During the training, Kanata carefully assessed each student's abilities to understand their strengths and weaknesses. He noticed Misora's speed and endurance, so he used evasive tactics to challenge her. Moments later, Lecty appeared behind Kanata, ready to attack with her sword. Recognizing her agile movements, Kanata noticed her tendency to hesitate and apologize during combat. Seeing her potential, he decided to help her overcome her self-doubt through training. Meanwhile, Kanata sensed distant attacks signaled by laser aiming, indicating Rico's impending shot. He quickly dodged the light bullet and protected Lecty from harm. Recognizing Rico's analytical skills among his students, Kanata understood her intentions. He realized that Rico intentionally reduced her firepower upon seeing the potential danger to Lecty. However, Rico hesitated to admit this, feeling proud in front of Kanata. Meanwhile, Misora continued searching for Kanata in vain, flying in different directions. As the afternoon approached, Kanata decided to end the day's training to give the three students a rest. Back at the academy dormitory, Misora and her friends felt discouraged by their inability to defeat Kanata individually. In the evening, Kanata visited their rooms to check on his students. However, when he arrived, the girls were startled to see him changing clothes. Reacting defensively, they aimed their guns at him and demanded he leave their room. The next day, Kanata announced his plan to provide personalized special training to each student. Rico, who had a high opinion of herself, hesitated to join and decided to skip the session. Without interfering, Kanata let Rico do as she pleased, while arranging separate training sessions for Lecty and Misora. He then asked Lecty to accompany him to the shopping center to buy a sexy maid costume. Later, Kanata instructed Lecty to hand out 100 flyers in front of the mall while wearing the maid costume. Despite feeling embarrassed and nervous, Lecty persisted in the activity as part of her special training, with Kanata's guidance. Meanwhile, Kanata assigned Misora to shadow Rico throughout the day to discover her weaknesses. Initially unsure because she didn't know much about Rico, Misora reluctantly agreed at Kanata's insistence, secretly watching Rico's actions. As Lecty struggled to gather the courage to hand out flyers to mall customers, she became increasingly flustered when approached by boys. Despite her nerves, she took the opportunity to distribute the flyers. After completing the initial challenge successfully, she gained confidence and began approaching more visitors to hand out flyers. While shadowing Rico as instructed, Misora is unexpectedly discovered by her, causing Rico to believe that Misora is attracted to her charisma. Rico then invites Misora to spend time together, which Misora eagerly agrees to. During her observation, Misora notices Rico's diverse interests. Despite enjoying complex philosophical books, Rico also loves adorable stuffed sheep. Misora is puzzled by Rico's seemingly contradictory preferences and behaviors, making it difficult to identify her weaknesses. In contrast to Misora's ongoing challenges with her assignment, Lecty becomes more comfortable in the busy crowds and gains confidence in handing out flyers to every visitor. After successfully completing her special task, she goes directly to Kanata, who is relaxing at a nearby cafe. Kanata praises Lecty for her courage in facing her fears and assigns her the next special task. He tells her that he has arranged for her to work as a part-time waitress at the cafe, where she will serve every customer starting from that day. Upon arriving at the cafe, customers immediately called out to Lecty to take their orders. However, seeing her still dressed in the sexy maid outfit attracted even more attention from male customers, who eagerly placed orders with her. Feeling overwhelmed by the teasing and embarrassment, Lecty fled from the scene. Coincidentally, Wood was present at the cafe and recognized the maid-clad girl as Kanata's student. Shortly afterward, Misora arrived at the cafe and found Lecty hiding in an elevator. After learning about Lecty's special training, Misora decides to support her by dressing attractively and helping to serve customers at the cafe. Male patrons seem delighted by their presence, enjoying the pleasant atmosphere at no cost. Seeing Misora's skill in handling orders and serving customers impresses Lecty, who admires her friend's confidence. Meanwhile, Wood approaches Lecty, offering advice on her social anxiety issues. He encourages her to trust Kanata's training and starts teaching her how to socialize, beginning with interactions with Misora. As time goes on, Wood becomes hopeful that Lecty will gain confidence and develop a similar level of confidence as Misora. Encouraged by his words, Lecty becomes more self-assured in her training and learns to communicate effectively with customers. In the afternoon, after their special training, Kanata treated Misora and Lecty to ice cream and suggested they relax in the city park. During their conversation, Lecty shared that she understood the purpose of Kanata's special training, to help her overcome her social anxiety. Meanwhile, Misora expressed frustration over her inability to complete the task assigned by Kanata. She admitted that she hadn't fully understood her friends, especially Lecty's struggles with social anxiety. Kanata then reassured Misora that she had indeed learned to recognize her own weaknesses through the training. He encouraged her to acknowledge these weaknesses and work on overcoming them. Later that evening, while in his office, Kanata delved into Misora's records to evaluate her abilities. He was surprised to discover that Misora relied more on her sword skills in combat, even though her magical abilities were much stronger than her swordsmanship. Chloe, who overheard the conversation, was impressed by Kanata's commitment to teaching the three students. She wondered how Kanata would unlock the potential of these students, who were considered the least skilled in the academy. The next day in class, Kanata instructed Misora to focus on practicing magic defense techniques instead of using her sword, considering her poor sword skills. However, she firmly refused to give up her sword, despite Kanata's advice. Feeling disheartened by Kanata's request, Misora's disappointment in him grew. Struggling to hold back her tears, Misora suddenly left the classroom. It became clear that she was unwilling to part with her sword because of the memories associated with her late mother, Misora Whitale. In the previous era, Misora Whitale was one of the most respected sword knights at the Sky Wizard Academy, capable of defeating hundreds of beetle monsters single-handedly. Her incredible skill left many impressed, including Misora, who admired her mother's strength. When Kanata instructed Misora to stop practicing with her sword, she felt deeply saddened and often visited her mother's grave. Distraught, she even neglected attending the Sky Wizard Academy and didn't help Lecty at the cafe in recent days. Concerned about Misora's prolonged absence, Kanata felt regretful and decided to visit her family's steakhouse. When he arrived, he met Misora's father, a renowned chef in the city. Seeing Kanata at the entrance, Misora quickly left her tasks and rushed away. After she left, Kanata approached Misora's father and introduced himself as her teacher from the academy. Upon seeing a photo of Misora's mother, Kanata noted the striking similarity between Misora and her late mother. Misora's father explained that the photo was their only way of remembering her. It was revealed that when a Sky Wizard knight like Misora passed away, people automatically forgot about them. However, Misora retained many memories of her mother, often sharing stories about Misora with others. Misora's father reflected on her upbringing, describing how her mother, busy with her duties as a Sky Wizard knight, relied on Misora to manage household tasks. Despite occasional mistakes, Misora tried her best to be a dedicated mother to Misora. Whenever Misora returned home from her nightly duties, she made an effort to bond with Misora, taking her on flights around the city and trying to provide entertainment during her free time. Whenever Misora was expected to return, Misora would ask her father to prepare steak for her. However, one day when Misora requested steak for her mother, her father suddenly couldn't remember Misora. It was revealed that on that tragic day, Misora had been declared deceased after battling a formidable foe. Misora was the only one who remembered her. It wasn't until the Sky Wizard officers arrived to inform her father of Misora's passing and handed over her magic sword to Misora that he recalled her. Since then, Misora has been determined to follow in her mother's footsteps and become a skilled sword knight. After learning these details, Kanata found Misora at Misora's gravesite and urged her to let go of her attachment to the sword. However, Misora refused adamantly, insisting on continuing to improve her sword skills to honor her mother's memory. For Misora, giving up the sword meant losing her last tangible connection to her mother and essentially forgetting her. Seeing Misora's determination, Kanata smiled and assured her that she could still use her sword as a weapon. His intention was simply to test her commitment. With this understanding, he devised a plan for her sword practice. Encouraged by his words, Misora promised to focus on improving her swordsmanship. The next day, Kanata resumed training sessions for Misora and Lecty, stressing the importance of taking their training seriously. He also registered their team for an upcoming tournament scheduled for the following days. Kanata meticulously gathered information about their opponents to develop a strategic approach. Despite acknowledging the strength of their opponents, Kanata remained hopeful and diligently prepared the best possible strategy. In contrast to Misora and Lecty's rigorous training, Rico chose a more relaxed approach, rarely attending special training sessions. Her narcissistic tendencies persisted as she believed that, as a goddess-like figure, she didn't need extra training or to follow academy rules. After getting ready extensively, Rico decided to relax at a cafe instead of going straight to the academy for training. Coincidentally, she met Kanata at the cafe and excitedly told him about meeting a striking figure from another realm. At first, Kanata misunderstood Rico's story, thinking she had encountered a supernatural being. However, it turned out that the captivating figure she mentioned was her own reflection in a mirror. Amused by her self-absorbed nature, Kanata couldn't help but smile and agreed to let her skip special training for the next few days. The next day, when Rico arrived for class, Misora and Lecty asked her to join their training session. However, Rico refused, stating that as a goddess, she didn't need such training. Despite Misora's persistence and attempts to persuade her, emphasizing their upcoming match, Rico continued to decline, fearing potential embarrassment in a losing battle. Upon hearing Rico's explanation, Kanata acknowledged the wisdom in avoiding a battle they couldn't win. However, he assured them that he already had a plan in place to ensure victory in the match. Afterward, Kanata invited Misora to practice aerial swordsmanship and taught her a secret sword technique. Using his magic sword, Kanata demonstrated gathering a significant amount of magic energy in the blade before releasing it into the sky, creating a powerful explosion. With Kanata's guidance, Misora attempted the technique and successfully executed it on her first try. Unfortunately, Misora still had limited energy levels, which meant she could only fire the sword cannon 3 times a day. Meanwhile, Rico used her clairvoyant vision power to observe Misora and Lecty's training sessions. After witnessing Misora's cannon fire technique and Lecty's acrobatic sword skills, Rico concluded that Kanata could enhance the abilities of the two girls, whom she saw as lacking. While Rico was absorbed in her observations, Kanata suddenly approached her from behind to ask about her thoughts on the training. Rico praised the effectiveness of the sword cannon technique, but pointed out its flaw in combat, the time-consuming process of charging magic on the blade, leaving Misora vulnerable to enemy attacks. Acknowledging this weakness, Kanata explained that Rico's analytical skills, combined with Lecty's proficiency in close combat, could compensate for it. He emphasized the importance of each team member's role and stressed that victory depended on the collective efforts of all members. Therefore, he encouraged Rico to join the team for the match, supporting her friends to secure victory. Upon hearing Kanata's explanation, Rico was surprised because he had never pressured her to participate in special training, which seemed to indicate a lack of interest in training her. However, Kanata clarified that he focused more on training Misora and Lecty to elevate their abilities to match Rico's. This recognition filled Rico with pride, leading her to decide to join the competition. The next day, as the match was about to start, Rico and the team rushed to the arena. However, just before the match could begin, the Mistogan defense issued an alert about an imminent beetle monster attack on the island. As a result, the match had to be postponed and preparations were made to evacuate residents, with elite Sky Wizard Knights mobilized to fight the monsters. Chloe, Yuri, and Lloyd prepared themselves on one side of the island to face the beetle monsters, while Kanata chose to help with the evacuation efforts alongside the officers. Shortly after, several beetle monsters breached one of the island's shields, infiltrating through the gaps. A swarm of demon beetles flooded the island, prompting Kanata's team to step in and prevent chaos from erupting. In response, Misora infused her sword with magical energy and unleashed a sword cannon at the beetles. However, due to her lack of proficiency with the sword, she struggled to control her power, resulting in an excessively large blast that damaged the island's infrastructure. Despite this, she managed to eliminate some of the beetle monsters, albeit causing significant collateral damage. Meanwhile, from the control room, Frian instructed the knights to locate the chimera beetle or the commanding officer leading the beetle monsters. The beetles would automatically retreat upon the demise of the chimera beetle. Interestingly, even though Misora managed to eliminate the chimera beetle, the onslaught of beetle forces continued. Kanata speculated that there might be multiple chimeras orchestrating the attack, indicating the need to find another one. Meanwhile, Yuri and Klo became increasingly worried about the beetle army's successful invasion of Mistogan Island. However, Lloyd remained confident in Kanata's ability to overcome the threat and protect the island. Back with Kanata, he assigned Rico the task of using her clairvoyant vision power to locate another chimera. After thorough scanning, Rico identified a massive beetle moving in a specific direction. Following Kanata's instructions, Misora was tasked with confronting the beetles breaching the island's defenses, while Lecty was assigned to deal with the beetle troops infiltrating the city area. Meanwhile, Kanata himself set out to eliminate the chimera beetle. Suddenly, multiple beetle troops approached Misora, shooting beams of light at her. Fortunately, Kanata quickly stepped in, saving her from the attack. Afterward, Kanata unleashed his ultimate sword technique, channeling all his magical energy to confront the beetle army. With incredible speed, he dashed toward the chimera beetle, releasing a powerful blast cannon at the creature. His decisive strike led to the demise of the chimera, causing the entire beetle army to retreat from Mistogan Island. Yuri and the other Sky Wizard Knights finally acknowledged Kanata's victory over the chimera. With the beetle army defeated, the Academy team match resumed. Despite Misora and her team's confidence, they were defeated by a significant margin during the match. While Kanata had initially hoped for their victory, he wasn't surprised by the outcome, considering it was their first match. A few days later, the head of the Sky Wizard Academy received a proposal from the Sky Wizard Security Division to improve their training program, making it more realistic. Following the recent beetle troop invasion incident, Kanata intensified his team's training regimen. He assigned his 3 students the task of popping hundreds of balloons in the sky, but unfortunately, they struggled to coordinate their efforts. Instead of collaborating, they'd each attack the balloons individually using different methods. Misora's shots were scattered in all directions. Rico showed reluctance to engage in combat, preferring to focus on her appearance, and Lecty became overwhelmed by the numerous balloons surrounding her. Meanwhile, Frian called a meeting to determine accountability for the damage inflicted upon city center facilities. Upon discovering that Team Kanata was responsible for the damage, she decided to suspend Team E600 and won for a few days. Additionally, Frian plans to remove Kanata from his role as an instructor due to his failure to foster development within the E601 team. Kanata is considered unsuccessful in conveying the importance of teamwork and combat strategies to his students. Meanwhile, Kanata's team expresses frustration upon hearing about the Academy's decision to suspend them. Despite their efforts in repelling the beetle army, they receive no acknowledgement for their actions. However, Kanata remains unaffected by this and focuses on preparing his team for the upcoming Mistogan tournament. He decides to register his team for the tournament and is determined to win. However, Kanata is called to Frian's office the same day, where he is informed of his dismissal as an instructor. Nevertheless, he remains undeterred by this decision, stressing to Frian that he is the only one capable of effectively training the 3 girls. He assures Frian that her decision does not affect him, reaffirming his commitment to improving the strength of the E600 and one team beyond any other. Kanata confidently presented a challenge to Frian, suggesting that if his team won the Mistogan tournament, the suspension penalty imposed on them would be lifted. Despite her doubts about their chances, Frian reluctantly accepted the challenge. In class, Kanata informed Misora and the rest of the team about the upcoming Mistogan tournament and the agreement he made with the Academy head. After explaining the situation, he announced that the tournament draw would take place the following day. In the evening, Frian, along with Yuri, Lloyd, and Klo, visited the Sky Wizard Research Center to review the advancements in studying the beetle monsters. They examined the body parts collected from the chimera during the recent attack. Suddenly, a male researcher named Nu Ariel pointed out that the chimera they were examining this time displayed slightly different characteristics, particularly showing an exceptional ability to regenerate. This discovery suggested that the Chimera had evolved into a more formidable threat, leading the Sky Wizard to prioritize and intensify the training program at the Magic Academy. The next day, all tournament participants gathered to draw their lottery numbers. Due to the system's randomness, even lower-ranked teams could potentially face higher-ranked opponents. Fortunately, Kanata's team was paired with another team of similar skill level in the initial rounds. During their match, Kanata encountered Yuri, who had entered her team in the tournament. Despite Yuri's team appearing strong, Kanata remained optimistic and determined to win every match until the final round. This statement confused Misora and the other girls, who had thought they only needed to win one match. Several days later, a male student from Class E of the Magic Academy was suddenly attacked by a mysterious assailant. The student suffered severe injuries, causing fear among the Academy students. Yuri, Chloe, and Lloyd were assigned to investigate the incident. While discussing the matter at a cafe, Yuri recalled past events when Kanata had rescued her from an attack by another student. At that time, Yuri, a newcomer to the Magic Academy, had been impressed by the skills of Kanata's team and had quietly admired him ever since. As Kanata remains focused on training his team, he concentrates on establishing a suitable formation for their upcoming tournament battle. He frequently changes roles and formations to underscore the importance of each member's contribution. However, Misora and the others continue to struggle with cooperation, often choosing to act independently. During intense training sessions, Kanata invites Yuri's team to join them to demonstrate effective teamwork. Yuri's team displays impressive cooperation and coordination, enabling them to overcome opponents and manage their resources efficiently. Witnessing Yuri's team's synergy, Misora and the others feel a sense of doubt. But Kanata's encouragement boosts their spirits. Later, Yuri asked Kanata to meet her privately at a cafe, unaware that Misora and Lecty were secretly following them, listening in on their conversation. At the cafe, Yuri urged Kanata to stop training the E601 team and instead focus on a more significant cause. She argued that investing time in a team with little chance of winning any tournaments was pointless. Reflecting on their past encounters, Kanata acknowledged Yuri's previous struggles with flying magic. Despite the E601 team's marginalization by the Academy, Kanata remained firm in his belief that he could unlock their potential and shape them into a formidable unit. Meanwhile, Lloyd and Chloe visited Freen's office to update her on the ongoing assault case they were investigating. They noticed similarities and patterns in the attacks, noting that all the victims were students of the Sky Wizard Magic Academy. The attackers' pattern began with assaults on the lowest level class, Class E, progressing through levels D and C. With 3 students already targeted, they feared the next victim might be from level B. The next day, students from level B were unexpectedly attacked by the mysterious assailant. That evening, the perpetrator was revealed to be Nuo, a Sky Wizard researcher obsessed with Yuri and eager to assert dominance in her eyes. The following morning, while jogging in the Academy Park, Kanata coincidentally ran into Lecty, who invited him for a chat. Lecty expressed concerns about the team's offensive formation, noting that Misora's ranged attacks didn't suit her position at the front. However, she found it difficult to adapt to the rear position due to her preference for close-range combat. Kanata acknowledged this challenge but insisted on continuing with the practice formation as it would be crucial in their upcoming tournament. Later, Kanata took Lecty to the cafe to help during peak hours, intending to demonstrate the purpose of their training. Initially overwhelmed, Lecty gradually understood her role in the rear position as she attended to customers. In the next training session, Lecty carefully observed Misora's attack patterns and offered guidance to help her improve accuracy. Misora concentrated on hitting each target precisely, while Rico and Lecty provided cover for any missed shots. Through their outstanding teamwork, they eventually found the right formation and devised a suitable strategy for the upcoming tournament. The following day, Kanata gathered his team to clean and renovate an unused room, which they planned to use as their team headquarters. Once they finished the task, he scheduled a meeting with Yuri for later in the afternoon. Meanwhile, Lloyd and Chloe visited the A-level Magic Academy students who had been recently targeted by the attacks. They speculated that the next victim could be a level S student or someone of similar status. While chatting on a park bench, Yuri and Kanata reminisced about a past conversation where Kanata suggested Yuri switch her weapon to a spear to improve her combat style. However, Yuri insisted on sticking with her sword, ignoring Kanata's advice. Suddenly, Nu appeared and targeted Yuri for his next attack. Despite Yuri's plea for Kanata not to intervene, Nua's magical abilities surpassed hers, putting her in grave danger. Nua expressed his affection for Yuri and urged her to reciprocate his feelings, prompting Kanata to step in and defend her with his sword. Despite Nua's persistent assaults, Kanata managed to defend himself and mount a counteroffensive. In a desperate move, Nua continued to attack Yuri until she lost consciousness, after which he fled the scene. That night, Nua was frustrated by Kanata's interference with his plan to capture Yuri. Suddenly, he heard a mysterious voice coming from the Chemra's body nearby. The voice attempted to manipulate Nua, urging him to harness his power to become stronger. Meanwhile, Kanata accompanied Yuri to the girls' dormitory to ensure she could rest. Initially feeling awkward around Misora and the other girls, Yuri gradually felt more comfortable with them. Kanata reassured her and gave her a keychain to ease her nerves before she returned to her dormitory. The bond among the three girls on Kanata's team strengthened as they diligently trained together to improve their skills. They collaborated more effectively, refining their teamwork and developing battle strategies during their training sessions. On the day of the tournament, Misora appeared distant from Lecty and Rico, seeming to keep something to herself. Kanata noticed her change and inquired about it. Misora admitted feeling like a burden to her teammates. Kanata comforted her, advising her to observe the situation and respond accordingly. During the match, Misora lacked confidence but recalled Kanata's advice. She realized she could act freely and charged her sword with magic energy, unleashing a powerful cannon attack. This knocked down all opponents, securing victory for Kanata's team in the first match and advancing them to the next round. Meanwhile, Nua conducted a clandestine experiment, extracting power from the Chimera and injecting it into his body as a liquid. As Kanata's team progressed through each round, defeating various opponents, they reached the final match against a team led by Yuri. Rumors of the E600 and one team's possible disbandment if they lost began to circulate, drawing media attention to the final match broadcast. As the final match began, many spectators favored Yuri's team, influenced by lingering perceptions of Kanata's team as traitors. Despite this, Misora and her teammates remained determined to prove themselves. During the match, Kanata's team faced off against Yuri's team, comprising Lily, Sasha, and Greg. Initially, the teams seemed evenly matched, but Yuri's team gradually gained control, analyzing Kanata's team's tactics and attack patterns. The match progressed with Yuri's team chasing members of Kanata's team, leading to a predictable sequence that bored the audience, who expected Yuri's team to win. However, it soon became clear that Kanata's team had deliberately orchestrated this scenario. Their plan was to lure Yuri's team to a specific location, setting the stage for Misora to execute a decisive attack capable of defeating all opponents simultaneously. In the heat of the action, Kanata revealed to Yuri that despite his team arriving later, they had successfully manipulated the situation to their advantage. Upon recognizing Kanata's strategy, Yuri acknowledged its effectiveness as Misora executed her explosive attack, incapacitating all members of Yuri's team. With this unexpected move, Kanata's team emerged victorious, astonishing the spectators with their win. However, the celebration of Kanata's team's victory was abruptly halted when Nua suddenly appeared in the broadcast room, spreading fear throughout the arena. After causing chaos in the broadcast area, Nua appeared in the evacuated arena center, where he approached Yuri, his admiration turning into expressions of love. Fortunately, Kanata intervened to protect Yuri and engaged in a physical confrontation with Nua, resulting in Kanata sustaining an injury to his left leg from a thrown chair. Despite Yuri's attempts to fight back, Nua's newfound strength allowed him to overpower her easily, breaking her sword in the process. However, Misora and the other two girls from Kanata's team remained, launching a powerful laser attack at Nua. Despite Misora's attempts to fire light bullets at him, Nua remained unaffected and transformed into a formidable, monstrous entity. The creature tightened its grip around Yuri, causing her to lose consciousness. Witnessing this, Kanata, now enraged and in full power mode, unleashed a barrage of attacks with his legendary magic sword. However, the creature proved resilient, deflecting Kanata's strikes with its tentacles. In a crucial moment, Misora, Lecty, and Rico combined forces, launching a coordinated assault on the creature. Together, they managed to free Yuri and Kanata from the creature's grasp, allowing them to escape. However, their relief was short-lived as Nuo launched a sudden attack on Yuri with his tentacles. Kanata shielded her, sacrificing himself in the process and falling to the ground injured. Faced with this dire situation, Yuri and the three girls gathered their strength, launching a unified counterattack against Nuo. Thanks to their cooperation, Yuri successfully defeated the monster by launching the anti-regeneration spear into its body. With the creature defeated, the arena returned to safety, and the injured were swiftly evacuated to the hospital. After Kanata's team emerged victorious in the tournament, Frieren fulfilled her promise to lift the suspension penalty imposed on the team. However, they did not receive any rewards, such as new weapons or level-ups, which left them feeling disappointed. A few days later, Kanata invited Yuri to join Team E600 and won as a new member, in accordance with the agreement that the mentor of the losing team should join the winning team as a student. The anime concludes with a scene showing Kanata fulfilling his promise to train Team E601, the formerly ostracized team, with the aim of transforming them into the top team at the Sky Wizard Academy. So the moral of the story is if you're going to eavesdrop, make sure it's on something juicy, like secret love confessions or evil villain monologues.